Now we will begin the plenary sessions. Our first plenary speaker is Professor Anil K. Gupta from the Honeybee Network, India. Professor Gupta is internationally recognized for his pioneering work in grassroots innovation, inclusive development, and knowledge networks that empower local communities. And he will give a lecture through the video. He's online. The title is Transcending Limits of Frugality, Learning from Grassroots Innovators Through Honeybee Network. I've searched internet and asked AI, who would be the best person to give a plenary speaker at the appropriate technology conference? And the AI recommended 3 persons, and Professor Gupta is one of them. And his work, he started, as far as I understand, I did some search and study on the grassroots innovator and honeybee network. And Professor Gupta, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you started the talking with the local community people since 1970. And Professor Gupta learned that there are individuals with creative ideas. So Professor Gupta collected those ideas and came up with a network to share those ideas to other local communities. So the concept of grassroots innovator is the individual innovators in the local communities. And Honeybee Network is a way to facilitate sharing of the knowledge. And in that concept, I think it's very similar. And we have a lot to learn from Professor Gupta as a appropriate technology society. So let us listen to his lecture. And after that, we will have a Q&A.
Dear friends, I'm sorry that I'm not able to be present with you in physical form, but I would very much like that we interact further after this presentation and try to see how the limits of frugal innovation can be transcended by creating an environment where all of us try to blend circularity, affordability, and availability. As you see here, there is a tree which we found in our Shodhyatra learning walks in Himalaya. And I asked the tree, why did you branch? He said, I'm not supposed to branch, but then I branched and I made that branch into a parallel stem. So the process of self-correction, self-design, self-governance is called autopoiesis. The model of innovation that we're talking about today is an autopoiesis model of innovation, frugal innovation. As I'm talking to you, some cells in my body are going through mutation. And my body is able to either bypass it, repair it, or regenerate it. And this process, where a knife, for example, which cuts the things, becomes sharper every time it cuts. So how do we ensure that frugality is not something which is static, but continues to improve in our life, in our work, in our technologies? And that is what I'd like to discuss with you. The 4 ducks that you see move in one direction, and the one that is moving in an opposite direction, this is my favorite. This is the picture my colleague Anamika took, and I can tell you that it always reminds me that when we are looking for innovators, they're really oddballs. They're different. They have the fortitudinous capacity to stand apart from the rest. They don't need to seek approval of the rest. They can find their own way, and they don't care what others say. So these kind of innovators, we have to search, and we walk in every summer, every winter, every autumn in different parts of the country, and hope in someday we can also have these walks around the world to look for these crazy people, look for these odd people, so that we can try to develop a platform where the frugality blends, as I said, with affordability. Now, this is the triangle that we conceived in 1997 when GIAN was set up, Grassroots Innovation Augmentation Network in Gujarat. And there are three dimensions of this triangle: innovation, investment, and enterprise. Many times these dimensions don't converge because they are at different places. The transaction costs are very high. Innovators don't know where the investment will come from. Investor doesn't know where the entrepreneur is. The entrepreneur doesn't know how to join hands with the innovator. So we need to try to see how innovations, particularly let's say energy innovations in one part, can blend with investment in another part and set up enterprise in third part. Now, G2G model, that is grassroots to global model, is what I'm proposing today, where we try to pool the grassroots innovations, frugal innovations from around the world. Either we could set up an academy of inclusive and frugal innovation and knowledge augmentation, or we may call it a global inclusive frugal innovation and community knowledge foundation. But the idea is that there are people around the world who are struggling to find extremely frugal, affordable solutions. And mind you, affordable not just for consumer, affordable not just for manufacturer, but affordable also for the earth, for the environment. That means circular in nature. Now, such innovations we need to bring together because there is no database common except what we have tried to do at gyan.org/databases. There are not many places where we will have tens of thousands of such innovations together. So my invitation to you all is, can we work together to bring frugal innovations from around the world on a common platform? So let me take a few examples and show how we can learn different heuristics of frugality through these innovations. The Mansukh Prajapati developed a clay refrigerator with double-walled structure where water will evaporate and cool the fruits, vegetables, which can then last for 2 to 3 days. Small cost. GIAN had provided small support in 98, small investment grant. And today he exports to 20 countries, has a big showroom and many, many places in the country. He is able to franchise this cooker and many other products, cooker, bottle, and so on. Now, what is the point? The point is that you don't have to be very complex design. You don't have to have a complex design to solve a problem in a frugal manner. Simple designs can sometimes work much more efficiently. Look at this walker. Many people need walker on the steps, but the conventional walkers around the world do not have the flexibility. This girl, when she was in class 8, now she has done his graduation. She suggested, can front legs, Shalini said, can front legs be flexible? When you come down, they become taller. As you go up, they become shorter. Now, this is a universal solution coming from a school kit. And we fabricated it. My colleagues fabricated it. Now, this is the power of frugal innovation, that these need not always be only location specific. And they can be universal. They can solve problems around the world. That's the reason why I'm suggesting this platform to be developed together. Now, here is a young boy who, two of them in Maharashtra, we gave them an appreciation award. You can convert any cycle into e-cycle by this red attachment that you see. There's a wheel here, battery operated, which will move the wheel and your cycle becomes e-cycle. You take it out to the classroom or your office and the cycle stands outside and your drive is with you. Low cost, simple solution. Radhe did something very interesting. You have poultry farms and the feathers in the poultry farm, after dressing the poultry birds, are often wasted. These silk-like cloth that you see here were made out of them. So it is possible to generate powerful solutions from the waste and employ in the process women and other workers, and at the same time generate so much value. This person Hardik has done something interesting, which we all know is a problem. When we use biogas, we need to remove carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, otherwise it will not compress. And they designed a very simple membrane-based filter so that methane can be enriched and there will be no problem in compacting it. Very low cost solution, but very interesting solution. Google did something interesting, using evaporative cooling principle of clay pots. You pump the air through these cylinders of clay, which are wet through simple system of watering, and you get a cooler. Why not? Why not? Akash and Adhesh did something interesting. They used starch from corn or some other crop grains and made the packaging material. Instead of using styrofoam or plastic bubble wrap, you can now use biodegradable bubble wrapping material. Very frugal, very sustainable. And the problem is that these solutions often remain obscure, but these are universally applicable. So I would suggest that many of these solutions will have applications in South Korea and so also in other countries. And therefore, we need to see how we blend our forces together. This is a very interesting example too, where Sangeeta from Coimbatore has tried to develop a larvicidal solution by using the mixed fruit peel. She fermented them and then generated a solution which can help control dengue and malarial larvicides. So this is something which can, within 24 hours, the density of them can be reduced to 0.3% and become safe for the region in circular economy principle. This is a solution that can be very interesting for even developed countries because you have air conditioners. Air conditioners exhaust air which is hot. Can that heat be used to improve the evaporative cooling of a desert cooler? Now look at this. You have a blended cooling system where you have AC. The hot air is improving the evaporative cooling of the desert cooler, and you can then combine them according to your climatic conditions, your need of cooling that you have, and the whole solution becomes very efficient, energy efficient. Now, these are the ideas that we can then see how to blend them together. This is an example from Turkey. And what has he done, Usman Lon? Usman Lon has used, when the trains move or buses move, there's a thrust of air. And his idea was, why can't I use the thrust of air created by buses or transport to run the vertical turbine? You have vertical turbines in South Korea too. And these turbines will generate energy. So the energy that was going waste on the road is now being harnessed. We can have other solutions of similar kind. In Iraq, an entrepreneur that said, well, you walk and in your shoes, I will have a charger. We got similar idea from Himachal Pradesh in Honeybee Network in 2002, 2003, which we also awarded at that time. So there is an idea of a power generation by hydropower, very common idea, but very low cost idea. And there are several solutions of this kind. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to look for materials which could be old or new, method which could be old or new, application which could be old or new, or delivery system which could be old or new. One of the four should be new for an innovation. And this is something that gives us a very creative playground to play with ideas. So what does Honeybee Network try to do? It gives voice, visibility, and velocity to the creative and compassionate frugal ideas. Voice, visibility, and velocity. Now, it is that velocity where we need to work together and see how we can speed up the rate at which frugal lifestyle, frugal consumption, frugal design, frugal innovation can be promoted. So this is the triangle, as I said just now, and let's see how this innovation works. So this is a very simple idea for a physically challenged people who need to have a vehicle which will extend their horizon of aspiration. So Jignesh Bhai, who has invented this, will board this vehicle on a wheelchair, and now he can move 100 kilometers instead of only a small distance of few yards within his compound. He is now enabled, he is now empowered by his own innovation. A very interesting e-vehicle. And now he's on his own. So this is the power of ideas, that if wheelchair person cannot afford a car specially designed for him, does not have a person to assist him to get down and up, or take out the wheelchair, now the wheelchair can be mobile, like the way he showed. Now, we discussed this. Now, I would like to give you one more example of how we blend generosity with frugality. And here is a oil that was developed by my colleague by pooling the knowledge of the communities from Baramulla, Kashmir, Himalayan state. And then what did she do? That's the next step, where you will find something very creative. The names of the knowledge provider were put on the label of the product. Now, I foresee a future when any product that you buy from the market will carry the name of inventors, innovators who added a new feature or form or function to that innovation on the package or the label. Now, this is a business model innovation which I believe has the potential to influence the way business is done. And what is the point in putting this name on the table? So that the consumer, when they buy this product, will have a conversation in their home about innovation, about invention, about how to find new solutions, and the whole society then will radiate a positive energy of finding solutions creatively. Let's look at what lessons we can learn from frugal innovations, or you call them appropriate solutions, or you can call them innovations from and for grassroots. First of all, these are not jugaad, a very common word which has been made popular by some lazy intellectuals. Jugaad is a makeshift solution. It's a temporary solution. The solutions I have shown you today are systematic, are durable. They will last. So we should not therefore confuse this. Secondly, frugality is not just for consumer and manufacturer, but also for the Mother Earth, the environment. Circularity is a fundamental building block of the innovation. Frugal innovations don't emerge only in materially constrained environment. They emerge in South Korea, they emerge in Japan, they emerge in India, they emerge in Europe, they emerge anywhere. So we should not think that they only emerge in a materially constrained environment. In fact, Indian Space Research Program, when it designed Chandrayaan, the Indian moon mission, it was about $79 million as against $1 billion that other countries spent. How could it do that? It was a beautiful way of using the gravity of the moon, and rather than having the entire fuel stock in the rocket, they had small rockets to move the rocket in the main rocket in the launch vehicle in different orbits. And through that, they could save tremendous amount of fuel by using gravity of the moon once they entered that orbit. Now, it was frugal engineering, but not because of material constraints. Frugality is a mindset. It makes us to look at the economical end of the problem. From which end do I attack the problem so that I can do it with less cost, less materials, much higher benefits and affordability. It essentially, therefore, minimizes material resources and maximizes intellectual resources. We have several necessary conditions for frugality. One is availability of databases, which will help young minds, students, scholars, farmers, artisans, mechanics to solve problems frugally. So there is a database we have, techpedia.in, which has 200,000 engineering projects by 600,000 students. Why? Because we don't want any student to do what has been done before. How would they know what other students have done? Most of the undergraduate projects would not be published. and may not file patents most of the cases. So we need to create such databases. We have another database of abundant US patents, 1 million of them available at our website, gyan.org/databases. These were not maintained because fees was not paid. Now it can be used, these can be used by any entrepreneur anywhere in the world. Similarly, we have farmer innovation database, we have got common property database, we have got a whole range of databases which can be used by the communities. I come towards the part which is crucial and will take me towards very important points of convergence. So we found this bridge of tree roots in Meghalaya and Cherrapunji. And when I asked them, why did you make a bridge of tree roots? You could have made it of concrete, cement, bamboo, whatever else. They said we wanted to do something different, something sustainable, something with zero waste. And then they began searching and they found that the ficus species of tree on the two sides of the river had roots which looked like rope. Science, therefore, comes into play. Now, these ropes cannot be pulled by individual. You need a collective action. Institutions. Rope is like a technology now. Science is like the building block. How do we build a bridge between the two? What are the elements that are required? And culture is like thesaurus, the desire to be different, desire to be frugal. So science is like an alphabet, technology is like words, institutions are like grammar, and culture is like thesaurus. 4 pillars of sustainability. I'm sure in the conference, a lot of ideas will be shared. And one of the running theme, I hope, across energy, across aquatech, across sustainability would be how do we combine these 4 pillars in a manner that we can be sustainable, we can be frugal, we can be affordable, and we can converge these goals of accessibility, affordability, and availability in a manner that environment and nature is also enriched. So essentially what we're trying to do, we have to win the trust of our future generation, our next generation. These kids are seeing us, expecting us to leave a world which was better than what we got. And that's only possible if circularity underlies all our efforts. And if affordability makes it possible for us to fertilize the imagination and aspiration of people who otherwise may be disadvantaged. So what have I tried to say? I'm saying that creativity counts, knowledge matters, innovations transform, and incentives inspire, but not just individual incentives, but also collective incentives, not just material incentives, but also non-material incentives. I invite you to join the Honeybee Network, and we hope that we can together, as GIAN has shared with you all these databases, we can together create a world where it will be possible for us to work together to create a platform where frugal innovations can all come together. We can incubate them together, we can accelerate them together. And instead of looking at only our individual national interest, we try to create the platform for the entire humanity so that Honeybee Network's principle of cross-pollination, of people not being anonymous, of benefits being shared with them in a fair and just manner can guide us in our search for sustainable future, our common, frugal, sustainable future. Thank you so much, and I'll be very happy to answer any comments and any questions that you have. Looking forward to work with you and take this effort, take this dream of a collective, of creating a common platform for bringing such solutions together so that our imagination is fertilized. Thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gupta, for sharing your experience and passion and your vision to the Appropriate Technology Society. Let's receive some questions from the floor. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you very much. My name is Tae Kim. I'm a researcher at a Policy Research Institute in Korea. I would like to ask for a bit detailed explanation of your mentions in your presentation. You mentioned, in which slide I can remember, the culture is like fixed overs. It's mentioned. It's more about the stimulation. We have to focus on find the similarity among diversities. Or can you give us a bit more explanation, please?
Yes, that is a very important question because culture can become culprit, but culture can also become a trigger for creating dissatisfaction with the status quo. Culture can create compliance, conformity, and congruence far too much. So much so that an individual who has an idea which is at odds with the consensus feels afraid of articulating it in the class or in the meeting or in the conference. And that culture we don't want. We want a culture which permits diversity, a culture which permits, like that duck which was finding her own way, the fortitudinous capacity. Fortitude is the capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes. So there are people, positive deviants, who would like to stand apart and try something which has not been done before. So culture can be a very powerful tool for triggering diversity, dissent, and dissonance so that we don't get used to what is the condition today. Now, when it comes to frugality and sustainability or circularity, it is even more important that we learn from those communities which have lived with it for a long time. And here I would suggest that culture must also require some time listening to the elders, the traditional knowledge holders in our communities, our grandparents for that matter. They lived with very little. Just about 70 years ago, 100 years ago, they were managing with very little and were much healthier and much happier maybe. I'm not saying we go back to that level. I'm just saying learning from them, adding, blending of modern science with that knowledge system, we can generate contemporary products and services which will be no less efficient in terms of the scientific utility, but at the same time will help us meet the needs, unmet needs of the society. So culture is the one which makes us conscious not only of the unmet need, but also unfelt need. We sometimes don't realize that so much of waste that we are producing every day in our life can be minimized by changing our attitude to good life. And I'm happy that in South Korea, there is a movement about responsible consumption, about minimal consumption. And I think that's a good idea because we don't want growth per se, which will kill our planet at all. So I think culture is a very powerful driver. I'm happy that you picked it up. Any other?
Yes, another one's coming.
Yes, thank you very much for the nice talk. I'm deeply impressed. I'm Dr. Park Hyun. I'm the CEO of Solarino. I'm making small-scale desalinator for removing harmful ion in drinking water. My question is that to make sustainable work, we need some, especially for the business, we need a certain amount of the money making thing. And in case of the appropriate technology, it is kind of some open source. It should be open source, and everybody should be able to make it. And that's what I want to make the desalinator, which can be made by everybody. But in many cases in business, the money making thing is it has some implementation that of the making some sort of the monopoly. But so this is conflict between the kind of monopoly and the kind of open source idea. So it is very difficult to make a match. It is to make appropriate technology business, I mean sustainable business. That's what I'm having some problem right now. So what is your idea that we can make some good appropriate technology entrepreneurship with some kind of without hurting the open source idea and making some sustainable business.
Very good point. In fact, the Gandhian principle of decentralized governance so that people can learn from each other and develop their own solutions. So you have one extreme of DIY solutions, do-it-yourself solution. The second is where I manufacture the components, you assemble them. So for example, in 70s, in 80s, early 80s, 70s, the televisions were assembled. When I bought my first computer, it was an assembled computer where I bought hard disk of Seagate and I bought my chipboard from Intel and so on and so forth. So we combined, we blended according to our needs, things that were available. So that there was no one brand which will satisfy my requirement, and I blended. That was second model. So one is DIY, second is assembled, free assembling of the components available. The third is very interesting, which is like a milkshake, unlike a salad bowl. In a milkshake, you mix all the fruits and they lose their identity, but they are now a new whole, a new drink, a new beverage. So like that, there can be options where we provide tools of fabrication, tools of biotechnology, tools of electronics, and people will then generate from the decentralized fab labs, decentralized community innovation labs, their own solutions. For instance, in the on seashore where you have fishing, and a lot of scales of the fish are wasted. Why can't we get chitosan from that and then use that for various purposes, including for water purification? So my suggestion is that we should try to blend open source with intellectual property, and I'll tell you how. When I set up National Innovation Foundation in 2000, till 2018, I was associated with it. Now it's a part of government, so I'm not involved with it. But this was a foundation which filed more than 1,000 patents in the name of grassroots innovators. But not in one case we enforced these patents against fellow farmers, fellow mechanics, fellow pastoralists. Why? Because people-to-people learning should be free. So for the community-based learning, it was open source. But if a company had to license it, we said you have to take it on license. You just can't take it freely. So we hybridized the Western model with our Eastern approach of right to life takes priority over right to property. And this is where we need to develop new models. We should not be constrained overly by the Western models, which have not looked at the decentralized string of ideas coming from the bottom up, blending them with the top quality science. So whether it is iron-rich water or other problems, water is the 60% diseases in tropical countries are waterborne. And we have still not succeeded. India can deliver 104 satellites in a single launch in different orbits. But can we provide water filters of high quality to every household or every community? Not yet. And therefore, I would say that our priority should be, how do we galvanize our energy collectively, blend the best of the science and technology with the knowledge of the people, and how do we use seeds of tamarind or moringa or other biomaterials, blend them with other kind of materials. For example, two of the students developed a magnetic water purifier to remove the iron ions. So we can think of different kinds of strategies requiring low energy or off-grid solutions, which can be very useful, very affordable, and at the same time easy to maintain. So I would appeal that we should not be overswayed by only the Western model of intellectual property. Yes, companies may like to protect their rights. I have no problem with that. But even companies should have a column on their website where they can share their learning, their insights, their processes. Some of their solutions can be put in open source, which other companies can use, so that the whole industry becomes more competitive, more collaborative, and more sustainable. I think there is a time has come when we must emphasize collaboration more than just the competition. We have far too much gone ahead with the competition, with the result that in a building block, one block is with you, one component is with me, one is with somebody else, and we are not getting them together because we are not collaborating enough. So I believe that your question has a possibility of triggering a very powerful, decentralized, collaborative, creative model of solving problems in an affordable manner.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We don't have time for another question. We have about a minute, but I'd like to thank you again for sharing your experience and passion. And throughout the 40 years that you have been working, it has grown with your ethics, considering the environment and next generation. We appreciate your work and we bless your work. Let it expand and let's find opportunities to work together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, let's move to our second plenary speaker, Professor Kwanu Shin from Seoul University, Korea. Professor Shin has actively contributed to education, innovation, and international cooperation through various initiatives connecting science, technology, and sustainable development. Today, he will present Building Sustainable STEM Ecosystem through Higher Education ODA. Experiences from Cambodia and Indonesia. Let us welcome him with a warm applause.
Good morning. This is Guan Shin. First of all, congratulations all this ICEAS. I've been participating from the very early, except that happened at Tanzania. But I've been here before many times. And also I'm working with